All right, folks, there's just way too much to talk about here these days, so we're going to get right into it. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Brewski, and FSWA Hall of Famer Steve, Dr. A. Alexander. And seriously, guys, we don't just jump right in. We're going to miss some crazy angles for you guys to take advantage of. So let's say hello to our sponsor. The biggest betting weekend of the year is finally here, which means more updated odds and props for Super Sunday. And that also means you need to get to Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. They have hundreds of prop bets, MVP odds, and exclusive in-game live betting. Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion, whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor. Bet Online offers you everything and more to enhance your game day experience. Visit the website today and make game day, that day action, count a little bit more. I don't know what the hell that is. Bet Online, the game starts here. Doc, help me read. How are you? It's been a while. It's been a full week. How have you been? Have you recovered from the laughing fit that you had on air the other day?
Yeah, I think I'm all right. For those of you who haven't seen it, go back and watch last week's show. Stay until the very, very end. It's one of those wait for it things.
Yeah, it's worth the price of admission. So we are definitely going to jump right into it. I was getting ready for the show last night, and I was like, oh my God. Okay, so here's what we got. Trade deadlines basically upon us. The names that are in play, it's a long list. I just want to rapid fire this list. De'Aaron Fox, Jimmy Butler, I'll throw it in, Zion, Brandon Ingram, Bradley Beal, Clint Capella, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Cam Johnson, Nick Vucevic, Zach LaVine, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, Stephen Castle, Devin Vassell, John Collins, Walker Kessler, and of course, Kyle Kuzma. It feels like each of those guys has at least a 50% chance or better to get dealt. That makes this a trade deadline that's kind of in play this season. Good time to mention we're going to have a trade deadline special hosted by the best host in fantasy history, Rick Kamla. Lots of sports ethos folks from outside of sports ethos joining the show. So make sure you check into that. I believe it starts at 6:30 Pacific time. I'll totally be awake for that, guys. I promise you. In the meantime, we've also had a Terry Rozier betting scandal. We don't know what that's about. We're just getting kind of the initial news on that. We'll talk about that. Julius Randle left last night's game with a groin injury. That's definitely big news there. Jalen Johnson, this isn't current news, but he's out for the season, so that's kind of a big deal. I haven't been able to say that out loud. We had all-stars announced, tons of injuries, ads, stashes everywhere. So away we go into Friday's action. Let's start with Dallas at Detroit. Detroit, a 1.5-point favorite. Maybe a nice little warm-up game here. Not too much going on, but when you look at this game, Doc, what's your first thought?
Daniel Gafford is on fire. And Spencer Dinwiddie, man, like one day he looks like a must-pick-up player, and the next day he doesn't. So, I mean, I wish that he would become consistent so I could rely on him, but I mean, he's always a decent streamer, and he's also worth rostering in deeper leagues.
Yeah, he's probably just waxing and waning with his crypto assets. Isaiah Stewart suspended for this game. Gafford, 3 weeks of first-round play. That's the biggest thing in this. I could talk about Jalen Duren being pretty good. Asar Thompson maybe just not getting it done. I feel like we've talked about these things, but Gafford is I mean, we feel like we got a lot of Gafford in this neck of the woods. How much do you think this can continue? Luka's going to be back, maybe even before the All-Star break. Does this continue? I mean, he's got no competition, but like, how good can he be?
I mean, I think this is it. This is peak Gafford, but I don't see why it's going away.
Interesting. And some news just sort of popping in here. As I mentioned Terry Rozier a second ago, no change in the status of Terry Rozier, and Tyler Hero said he expects to participate in the All-Star three-point contest now that he's an All-Star. But no change in the status of Terry Rozier. That's interesting stuff. Let's actually footnote that. And when we get into the Miami game, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Clippers.
Is Klay Thompson back?
Like back? Like he's game 6 Clay back? Or
I don't know, man. I mean, he's looked good in a couple games.
You know, I think he'll be a lot better when Luka gets back. That's for sure. It's been mostly bad, but he's Klay Thompson. I mean, if he's getting passes at the letters from, cross court zingers from Luca, I think that anything's possible with him. I won't go over my skis and claim he's inside the top 100, but hey, it's Klay Thompson. The end of the season's a good time for him to get hot.
Uh,
Are you in on him?
no,
No.
but
Okay.
I mean he's playing better.
All
But
right, we got a playing better.
he just he hit a couple shots. It'll go away.
We'll see. We'll see. Clippers -10 at Charlotte. Chris Dunn out a couple more games. Let's see. LaMelo Ball out at least a week with the ankle injury. Cody Martin out with a sports hernia. I mean, Charlotte's its own little mess here. You got anything on the Clippers before we kind of jump into Charlotte here?
I just feel like Kawhi Leonard is kind of back. He's played in 5 of the last 7 games. He looked really good in his last game. The Clippers like having him out there. Hasn't really hurt Norm Powell or James Harden yet. So I'm actually kind of enjoying Kawhi Leonard playing for my squad. I didn't think I'd ever say that again.
There you go, Doc. He's a top 50 guy in the last week in 9 category leagues in just 27 minutes per game. So Kawhi getting it done, and we'll see how high he can climb. And we saw last season how high he could climb, and it was very, very high. In the Charlotte side of things, all right, let's sort of game this out. We got Mark Williams is playing kind of every other back-to-back, more or less playing in the rest of the games. This team is not playing for anything. It feels like it's down to the tanking time. We've got Josh Green on the radar. We got Josh Okogie on the radar. Trey Mann out for the season. That's kind of not that surprising. Others in the stashes group. Are you looking to stash any Charlotte players right now?
Well, I mean, Vasilij Micic was good last year, and LaMelo's out now, and I don't know if we'll see LaMelo Ball again this season. Is anyone surprised? Nick Smith Jr. went like 1 of 10 in his last game, but he played a ton of minutes. He's starting. So both of those guys intrigue me. Micic was good last game. Maybe he can do something because he's been terrible up to this point. Miles Bridges is on cruise control. I don't know if he's even a shutdown candidate. And then if Mark Williams is out, I think you want to start Musa Diabate.
Yeah, yeah. My order of stashes is a little weird here. Right now, I have a Kogi at the top of my list, and he's been a top 70 guy over the last 4 games. 13 points, 1.5 triples, 4.5 boards, 2.3 assists, 2.8 steals, and a half a block in 25 and a half minutes per game. I've always wondered if he could actually put something together. Lots of physicality in his game, a lot of good drive ability in his game. But could he actually put it all together? And then Micic is the guy that you can kind of count on to get a bunch of assists. And I guess the question is can everything else come together? And then Smith is really intriguing. I don't know if he'll be good enough to make noise, but he's made a little noise in the past. And then Green himself's been a top 60 play over the last week. And so I guess Green could be closer to the top of the list. He's just so damn boring. And then Diabate, I don't know if you can handle the Mark Williams in and out stuff, then Diabate. I don't know if that's a finger up, Doc, or if you're just like pointing to the sky. That's a point to the sky.
I'm playing with
We
my
got
TV.
there you go. Chicago at Toronto. Toronto 4.5 point favorites. I had to like triple check what I was reading. All these lines that I'll say are from last night, so if things shifted, my apologies. But Toronto 4.5 point favorites in a basketball game. Chicago, Zach LaVine out for, I believe, the birth of his child. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, as
You
well
are
as the
correct.
trade deadline. Is that correct?
It's
Okay,
it's a
cool.
combo. We
It's
joked
a
about that
combo.
yesterday.
Nice, nice. Kobe
Hey,
White.
I hear Levine's wife's pregnant. Let's send him home. Let's shut him down.
Oh man, the trade deadline is definitely in full effect. Kobe White. Well, actually, hang on. I forget I even said Kobe White. Zach being out for the birth of his child. On the other side, Toronto. Manuel quickly questionable left hip and groin. Grady Dick questionable illness. Kelly Olynyk questionable calf. Calf. Yeah. So that's the injury situation. All right. What are you watching for with these two teams right now?
Oh my gosh. Um. Well, Toronto has won 5 games in a row, bro. They're hot, right?
Oh yeah,
That's why
yeah,
they're
yeah.
favored. They're hot, man.
Yes,
They're
yes,
smoking.
yes.
Um,
Smoking hot.
Dang it. You go first, Brew. I'm messed up
Okay,
over here.
I'll go first. The Chicago side of this thing is it feels like this is the pivot. And so Zach's out and then maybe traded. Who knows? He's one of the more intriguing trade guys right now just because he couldn't get traded before. Now he's played well enough to be in a trade consideration. And it feels like there's enough desperate contending teams out there that might want to take a shot. And so he and Nick Vucevic, if they're on the way out, this paves the way for Lonzo Ball. It paves the way for Josh Giddey and Ayo Dosunmu. Now, Lonzo and Dosunmu, especially Lonzo, are really scary if you're looking at a team that doesn't have anything to play for. And Lonzo's injury history is, front and center there. He's been great lately. He's been a mid-round guy over the last week or so, and then Dosunmu not quite healthy yet. But I think Giddey and Kobe White, and what I was mentioning earlier is that Kobe White. I think this is your last chance to buy low on Kobe White. And then you also have Jalen Smith. And Jalen Smith hasn't really done anything in like 3 years of being hyped up. And yet he's
By
getting
you.
hyped up. I will take this is totally my bad. I completely will accept that. But right now he's getting as much hype as he's ever gotten out there. I'm kind of in the middle on this. But he's definitely a guy that if they trade Vooch and they decide it's Jalen Smith time, he's interesting as all hell. I think he's got mid-round upside if he can get, say, 27 minutes per game. And then you got Modest Bazelis just hanging out there. So what's your order of operations in Chicago as we prepare for the trade deadline?
Kobe White is good to go. He's about ready to take off. Um, it was funny when you said we're going to do Chicago next. I was like, oh, what is Brew going to say about Jalen Smith? I bet he's getting fired up because Vooch might be getting traded. That's exactly what happened. Um, I'm I'm still not really
Wildly.
into Jalen Smith. I Matas Buzelis, however, I've been
Has
screaming for more minutes for him for months. Pat Williams is not getting it done. Buzelis is going to become a household name when he upsets Mac McClung in the dunk contest.
that's a
And
take right there.
if we get people moved out of Chicago, he might start playing. And he's starting to make a little bit of noise right now. He's like mini percolating. I really like him. And Josh Giddey, if Zach Levine goes, Josh Giddey should be good to go. I'm still cool with what Giddey has done this season. I have no problems with it. Done exactly what I thought he was going to do. Um,
He's really stepped it up here in the last, say, like 3 or 4 weeks, and it's really leveled out. And he's actually in prime position here. If Kobe's ankle isn't in a good place, and it's not going to be in a good place, say it's really bad. He's just been pushing through it, and he keeps getting banged up, and he keeps getting put back on the injury list. Maybe it is Giddy that's the one that takes the reins and ushers them through the tanking portion of the season. I'm curious if you had your choice between Jalen Smith and Bucelis, who are you taking?
Today, right this second, if I had to pick one of
Your
those two
your
guys,
season's on the line.
I'd probably take Jalen Smith.
Ah, you sucker.
But I don't want to. I want to take because Pat Williams is paid, man. Pat Williams is not going away. Nobody's going to trade for that shitty contract.
So if you get to swear, I was going to say Modest Bucelis might come out of nowhere, but Billy Donovan's a bitch. That's what
Oh,
I've got. Yeah,
oh, Andre,
because
get the bleep
get
button
the
out.
bleep machine out for that. No, I mean, he just doesn't give guys minutes or even box score production if he doesn't want them to. And I'm just curious, is he going to be hardcore about this and not let Bucelis get the numbers that he's capable of getting? And my apologies go out to intrepid producer Andre Lemouche. It's just that kind of a day. It's that kind of
I
a
am.
day.
I'm changing my pick. I'm going Bucelis.
Good, good. I don't want to have to swear again on air. Toronto just sucks. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, they're winning right now. They're favored 4.5 points. I would never take that bet, but what do I know?
Dude, they're
Uh,
balling. They're killing people.
yeah, but like everybody's not good at fantasy. right now. And
Bruce Brown
so
is.
there you, I mean, and being showcased for the trade deadline, I was not going to include him in the list of people, but he's most certainly being showcased. He'll probably be dealt. Stashes, I think Grady Dick's probably the top stash here. Oche Abaji, and I got a dark horse named Jacoby Walter. So
Hmm.
there you have it. Put it in your
For
pipe
the
and smoke it.
record, double-digit scoring for Bruce Brown in 5 of his last 6 games, 3 steals in his last 2 games, back-to-back 3-steal games. Lots of rebounds, decent assists, tons of steals, some threes, and they're playing him like 25 minutes a night on average, I would say, right now. So if you need a quick pickup, I think
Don't
Bruce Brown is the guy.
don't do it, Doc. Don't do it. Just don't even look down at that screen. All right, guys. Before we get back to the Friday games, if you guys want to get connected, make sure you're not missing any of our free content, as well as help us continue to make bigger and bigger cash investments into the fantasy industry. And you're watching on YouTube, drop a thumbs up on the video. That would help us out a ton. And if you're tuning in on Twitter, please give us a follow at Ethos Fantasy NBA. If you're listening on the pod feed, a 5-star review would be most helpful. Let's get into Denver
Hey,
at
Bru,
Philly. Denver.
before we move on, I just want to make it clear. You said that you are stashing Dick. Is that correct?
No, he's already rostered.
Oh, all right. Just checking.
Doc, you cannot derail this show 2 weeks in a
Oh,
row.
I could. I could
I
if
know
I
you
wanted
can.
to.
I know. Well, and so can Andre. Denver -9 at Philly. Everybody's more or less healthy, and I don't know that there's anything to talk about here. I got some tidbits here and there, but Philly, Joel Embiid out. One day I'll call him by his real name, Joel. Paul George also out. Caleb Martin out. Andre Drummond out. What do we got? What you watching for in Denver, Philly?
This may be more DFS than like fantasy, but when Paul George is out and Eric Gordon and Caleb Martin is also out. So when those guys are out, Eric Gordon is worth playing. It's just sort of the way it is. And then Ricky Council might be a silly season guy.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
There's a couple actually on that team. Justin Edwards, Jeff Doughton Jr., if it gets real bad out there.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff in Philly. I don't know what they want to do. I don't know if they want to be in the playoffs or not. The Paul George stuff, it felt like this might be a really small injury, but then now they're kind of trying to figure out how to get him back into the game. And all that screams like something's cooking in Philly. We just don't know what it is right now. If Embiid's not going to play, it feels like the pivot could be on, and who knows what that pivot even looks like. But, Philly, stay weird. Denver, Michael Porter Jr. has been really fading lately, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious if that might be trade deadline related stuff, knowing that maybe you're being floated out there as bait maybe for a Zach LaVine, maybe just not wanting to be, as energetic on the floor, something going on there. He's been barely a late round guy.
I think Porter's problem is Russell Westbrook related. They've been ramping Aaron Gordon up. Westbrook's in there. Christian Brown has been balling. Now, the last game, Aaron Gordon started. Brown went to the bench. Westbrook stayed in the starting lineup. And I think Westbrook having the ball in his hands so much is kind of squeezing Michael Porter, not to mention that their center is triple doubling every night with insane numbers. And as Gordon gets better and healthier, I think that takes away some of what Michael Porter does. So I think Porter might be the big loser in Denver. It might be, as he hadn't played great, but people still know his name. It might be a good time to move Michael Porter. Christian Brown's arrow is pointing down a little bit with the move to the bench. And then as far as late season stuff, I think Julian Strother might be a guy, but Denver's not gonna. There's no silly season in Denver.
That's why he's an FSWA Hall of Famer, folks. Boston -11 at New Orleans. Boston, Al Horford probable. Sam Hauser questionable. DeJounte Murray, we got some updates here with all the New Orleans squad. Let's see what we got. He is available in this game. It felt like he might have been in some trouble there for a second, but he's not. Uh, I got Brandon Ingram coming back sometime soon just to get showcased for the trade deadline. And I think Zion will probably be showcased as well for this team. We got Tice, Daniel Tice, that is out with a thumb injury. Jordan Hawkins, illness, out. So let's talk Boston and New Orleans. What strikes your fancy in this game, sir?
Don't read the screen, Brew. If you picked up Daniel Tice while Al Horford has just been chilling in my starting lineup in 30 deep, while Kobe White is on my bench, it's killing me, Brew. Drop Cornette and pick anyone else up. Other than that, there's not a lot to say about Boston. They are what they are. New Orleans, man, if I was going to trade for Brandon Ingram, I'm not sure I'd even want them to play him. Like, don't hurt him again before he gets to us. But I don't know who would want to trade for Brandon Ingram anyway. But New Orleans makes my head hurt when I look at that depth chart.
I don't know. I get excited. I really can't wait for all this stuff to clear out. I kind of feel like New Orleans is like the sleeper candidate for trade deadline action. Like Zion coming out and being like, I don't play because my employer doesn't want me to play. Like that's a get me out of here comment. And that's a I'm already out the door comment. But I mean, we got no smoke, no fire right now, at least in the rumor mill. So that you would think we'd be hearing more about that if there was actually a possibility that's going to happen. And then Ingram at least got a connected report to Toronto. Both those guys are really hard to move, but you got all these teams right now. We'll kind of maybe deal with some of this trade deadline stuff in pieces here as we talk about various teams. But you got all these big names that got to go somewhere. I mean, Bradley Beal's got to go somewhere theoretically. He controls all the cards though. Jimmy Butler's got limited sort of places he can land, but he's got to get traded, right? You got De'Aaron Fox out there. He's got to get traded, right? There's like these big NBA pieces that got to get traded. So maybe then Zion and Brandon Ingram can be included in that. And CJ McCollum's another guy whose name's been sort of floated out there. He's got 30 mil on his next year's contract. So a contender, maybe Milwaukee, might look at that. And if they can fashion a way to make it happen, they go, okay, we'll take on CJ McCollum, reunite him with Dame. But if you can get Ingram, Williamson, and McCollum out of there, Trey Murphy, 32 games of top 15 basketball this season. Absolute freaking monster. Eve Misi, Brandon Boston, Hawkins, who's sick tonight, Jose Alvarado. Like this sounds fun. It feels like it could be fun. I like all the. What's your favorite stash out of New Orleans?
Boston.
Still Boston.
Brandon Boston. And Trey Murphy would be an all-star if he played for a good team, I think. Jamal Cain. Jamal Cain is a guy.
There's a name.
For some reason, I feel like he could be the guy this silly season. I don't know why. I've had my eye on him for a couple years in Dynasty. Hasn't done anything at all, but I've watched him play a little bit. I feel like New Orleans, if they blow this thing up, Jamal Cain could actually make a little bit of noise. I like Boston.
I may or may not be going to the 30 deep league and seeing if I can get Jamal Cain before you can. Just saying. I don't know if I've got a roster spot for him, but enough about that. Boston, I think before we get out of that game, just everybody's on a buy low right now. The whole team's struggling. I don't know what's going on there, if it's actually real or, maybe they're having a little bit of a regression this season and maybe it's getting to people. I watch them play and I get the fear of God placed in me. I think who could possibly beat this team? So I don't feel like they're bad all of a sudden. So it's probably buy low on everybody there. Milwaukee -3 at San Antonio. Giannis and Chris Middleton probable. Portis out personal. I wonder if that's trade deadline related, but I wouldn't pretend to know the answer to that. AJ Green questionable left quad. On the San Antonio side, more or less healthy, and there is some interesting stuff there, especially trade deadline related. But I want to go to you first, Doc. When you think Milwaukee, San Antonio, where you at?
Nothing really on Milwaukee. Chris Middleton, 0 points in two of his last three games, in and out of the lineup, day to day, the rest of the way. He's literally. I'm going to go with Pringles. His ankles are made of Pringles, bro.
Okay.
And I totally out. I was totally out on Chris Middleton even when he was hot earlier in the year, but I'm totally out. Um, the fact that Stephon Castle is still starting and Jeremy Sohan is coming off the bench for San Antonio is interesting to me. I think that means that Stephon Castle's like good to go the rest of the way. And Harry Barnes just keeps kicking along and doing good stuff. Got him in a FanDuel lineup tonight.
I'm very upset I don't have the roster space for your Jamal Cain. And it might be because Jeremiah Robinson Earl is on my team, and I'm thinking he might be able to pick up some minutes here. You know what? If you don't beat me to it, I'm going to take Jeremiah Robinson Earl off my team for your Jamal Cain, and then I'm going to beat
I
you
don't
with
know that
him.
I have somebody I can cut for Jamal Cain.
Yeah, this is tough business over here. San Antonio is really interesting. So like Devin Vassell's been a top 50 guy over the last
He's been
seven
great.
games, and I'm now wondering, kind of rewinding the last couple weeks in my head, did they want to pump Devin Vassell up for this De'Aaron Fox trade situation? Um, Quickly, Harrison Barnes, top 65 guy over the last seven games, getting it done in 9 category leagues. So just know that. And then whatever happens here at the trade deadline, if Fox does go across, which it kind of seems like that's the probably 65-75% chance that he gets traded to San Antonio, and whatever multiple team trade possibly gets conjured. I don't know how the back end of that's going to all look. I know if they go 1-1 in San Antonio with this trade, the Spurs don't have to trade Stephon Castle. They just flat out don't. They have all the leverage in this situation with the Kings. The Kings have completely screwed themselves with this entire deal, but that's more on that later. Castle, I don't think he would go across. I think Vassell would go across, and then whatever else would go with him. But Vassell, I guess that's a sell high, right? I mean, if he's doing this good right now and he has these injury concerns, and he might also be dealt to Sacramento, what do you think about that?
I don't know that I'd even call him a. Well, I mean, if he goes to Sacramento, it's just gonna be more of the same. Everything's cluttered up and muddled. So yeah, he would take a hit if he goes. Yeah, sell high on Vassell. I'm with you. But is
What about
Vassell guaranteed to go if Fox comes over?
he's the only guy that's got the cachet, I think, to make Sacramento not sell, not going for an expiring Fox. I don't know what that means, Andre, but all I know is that in terms of a deal, like Sacramento theoretically doesn't have to do the deal. They could walk on this thing and then make De'Aaron play next season. And then at that point, it's, they've lost a lot of leverage because he is probably very upset with them at that point, and I think he's signaled to them that under no circumstances will he resign, no matter what the financials are. I mean, it's like 70 million. It feels like the numbers kind of change every once in a while whenever the cap guys get out and uncover the latest cap angle that's there.
This the good thing about the Spurs is they've got, let's say they lose Vassell and Castle. Well, then they've still got Jeremy Sohan and Trey Jones and Julian Champagny and Keldon Johnson. Like they they can afford to give up some talent and still be just fine. So
They have
because right
nine
now,
or
and we've
so.
seen Malachi Branham be good. Uh, I feel bad that some of these like Sohan and Keldon Johnson and Julian Champagny are just kind of buried on this team. So
That's why I think they're showcasing Vassell right now, is these guys haven't been playing a lot, and it's not really having to do with their play, especially in the case of Champagny. I mean, he just kind of does what he does out there. There's not a lot of wiggle. But they've got like 8 or 9 picks that they can spend, and there are going to be players lining up to play with Victor Wembanyama. That's the other thing. If they don't like whatever's going on here with Fox, they don't have to make the move. They've got assets, they got plenty of space, plenty of time. They can wait for the next superstar that wants to play with Victor Wembanyama and win a championship. And so I don't know what the return's going to be. I just think it's an interesting thing for Vassell, Stefan Castle. I mean, the Kings fans all want Stefan Castle in this deal. They figure he's the best player to acquire in this deal. Do you have any like pre-trade deadline, inclination to take on Stefan Castle if he's available out there? Any reason to target a Stefan Castle? Are you high on Stefan Castle?
Yeah, I love Stephon Castle, man. I think he's gonna be. Like I keep saying, he's gonna be a great player in like 2 years. Um, and if Vassell goes and Fox comes in, Cassell's role doesn't change. I
Yeah.
don't think.
I
I
can't,
mean,
even if he goes across to Sacramento and they welcome him in with open arms and they say you're the guy, I don't know that it
um,
changes his value that much.
I don't know. That makes me nervous, man. Sacramento is just so just. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah,
Did
I
the
think
King's
if
rabbit hole
Vassell,
just fritz your brain? Because
I
it does
think if
mine all the
Stephon
time.
Castle goes to Sacramento, he's probably going to take a little bit of a hit. Not
Yeah.
only is he going to have to get acclimated with a new team and play with new players and a new point guard, um, he's going to have to deal with Sabonis, the non-All-Star Sabonis, and um, DeMar DeRozan, and etc.
I kind of wonder if we see like the NBA's biggest multiple team trade at the trade deadline. And I'm not going to pretend I'm a cap guy. I don't understand a lot of it, but it feels like there's a lot of players and teams that need to be traded, but the team that they fit with, the other party that they fit with, doesn't have the situation for them, and it's like got to get multiple teams involved. What if Stephen Castle somehow ended up somewhere else? That's a thought
It's
that's been
funny
on
that
my
you
mind.
it's it's funny that you say that because I feel I'm not a trade deadline guy. I don't get that excited about it. But it feels like the way the CBA is set up now, it's hard to make trades. And I think we're going to see we might see like a 5 or 6 team deal this year.
Yeah,
I
that's gonna be crazy from a fantasy standpoint with all those shifting assets moving around. And so again, stay tuned to the trade deadline show. Just a lot going on with that. Let's get out of this one though, because we could go down the rabbit hole all
Yeah, that
day
was
with
only
this.
like 20 minutes on the Spurs.
I'm sure our producer loves that. Spurs fan Andre Lamouche. Phoenix at Golden State. Golden State. This is basically a pick'em game. It was -1 last night for Golden State. Phoenix more or less healthy. Devin Booker snubbed from the All Star game. Bradley Beal. I wonder if he'll play big in this one. Golden State. Draymond Green out, left calf. Jonathan Kuminga still out, probably through the All Star break. What you got? Phoenix and Golden State.
Um, Bradley Beal is in a tailspin. Minutes are down, production's down. They don't need him. They've got offense with Booker and Durant. So even if Bradley Beal gets traded, he's still just Bradley Beal. I'm not into Beal. I think if I had him on my team, I'd try to get rid of him. Um, Nick Richards has been disappointing and inconsistent, but I'm still hanging on to him. I guess, and Ryan Dunn has kind of been a bunch of nothing, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have some Grayson Allen thoughts.
No, none whatsoever, except that he's sitting on 2 months of top 80 to 90 play in 9 category leagues. And what about Pajemski?
Um,
What about Pajemski? You think it's
dude,
real or not?
Camlin and I are so over Golden State and Steve Kerr.
Yeah,
Just
you guys are.
absolutely over it. I can't do it anymore. I don't
But
trust
Pajemski's got
But
4 good games of basketball under his belt.
do you know how bad Steph Curry has been?
I think he's pretty pissed. Like I've
Dude,
watched Curry for a long time.
he's
Like,
just going through the motions.
yeah, he's pissed. I think the whole ownership and the front office and just everything involving Steve Kerr. Like, I think he's pissed at Draymond Green, if I had to guess. I
Dude,
mean,
we've
I'm
got
completely guessing on that, but
5 games of 21 or fewer points. for Steph
It's
Curry. And he's shooting really, really well. But he's letting like two or three other guys on the team take more shots than him. Like he's just going through the motions. He's not into this. I think he misses Draymond Green and he misses Klay Thompson. Like his boys, when they were good, those were his guys. And now he's out there with Moses Moody, Guy Santos, and Dennis Schroeder and Gary Payton, who started the other day. Like I I think out of
Hey, they
all the
did have a nice
guys,
win and a nice win
I think out of
over
all the
OKC.
guys, out of all the guys that are available on your waiver wire in Golden State, Pajemski is the one I like the best. Buddy Hield is just falling off a cliff. Um,
Not a
Pajemski,
cockroach.
Pajemski's the best one. Outside of that, I want nothing to do with this. Trace Jackson Davis in the doghouse, maybe banged up, whatever.
Pajemski's got 4 games of top 40 ball in 9 cat leagues, 14 and a half points, 2.5 triples, 4.5 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 55% field goal shooting. So that thing's coming down real quick. Perfect from the foul line on 10 shots. Do you think it's a run, don't walk moment to grab Brandon Pajemski, or is it a drop a guy that sucks and hope for the best?
I don't think he sucks. The good game
No,
he
no,
had,
drop a
the
guy
one
on your
really good
roster that sucks.
The one really good game he had, he played 32 minutes. Guess how many minutes he played on Wednesday in a close game, Brew? The next game,
Probably
18.
20. Yeah.
18.
It it's weird. It's weird.
His last four games, his minutes are 21, 24, 32, and 18. No, Steve Kerr. Uh, let's go to another game. It makes me so mad.
All right, before we get into the Saturday games, I want to tell you guys 2 things going on here at Sports Ethos. The first is something super free for you guys. It's the Sports Ethos app. You can get that either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Just search Sports Ethos. And the coolest thing about it is you get all the news that you need without having to sort through all the social media crap that's out there. And it also has tools to balance your team. We just added a trade evaluator. It's based on the B150 projections. We'll be releasing another B150 during the All-Star break. The other thing I want to tell you guys about is the baseball draft guide's coming out soon. It's actually kind of already out there right now. So if you guys play fantasy baseball or you're looking to get involved, check out our All Sport Fantasy Pass. And you can find that at sportsethos.com. We're going to have a bunch of promotions here in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for that stuff. But if you want to get ahead of the game, go check out both of those things. Saturday, Orlando at Utah. Orlando had a really bad loss against Portland last night. And
Portland's hot.
yeah, they want to win games, and it's kind of understandable. I mean, Chauncey Billups is kind of on the ropes there. He just wants to win so he doesn't lose his job. He looks good for his next employer, kind of a deal. Jalen Suggs, questionable left quad contusion. Utah, they're mostly healthy, but who knows by the time this game actually gets going, what's going on with it? I mean, usually Utah plays the good players against good teams, and Orlando may not be considered a good team right now. Who knows? What you got with this game?
For Orlando, I thought, and I said, and I may have even written somewhere, I thought Cole Anthony was on the outs and Anthony Black was locked and loaded and good to go. Well, Cole Anthony had a good game last night, and Anthony Black did absolutely nothing, including scoring 0 points. So now I don't know. I'm looking for a bounce back from Anthony Black in this game. If it doesn't happen, then I'm going to be mad and probably look somewhere else. But I'm not giving up yet. And then Gogo got his starting job back, so that means Wendell Carter is trending down, and the Magic as a whole are playing like crap, and they're getting beaten by teams they shouldn't get beaten by. And this whole season, we've been like, they just need to tread water until Paolo and Franz get back. But Paolo and Franz are back, and things are not going well. So Orlando's kind of a mess right now.
The hope would be that they're just rusty and this is their kind of get right week, and things are going to get better. But it has been bad. Banchero, barely inside the top 400, despite 19, 7, and 5 with the PRA. And it's because his percentages are awful, like ridiculously awful. So, yeah, it's bad there. I think they're going to get things going maybe in this game against Utah. So if you got your buy lows out there, that's the probably the time to get in on all three 4 even if you count Jalen Suggs. I don't know if anybody's holding his injury time off against him, but Goga, Bancaro, Franz Wagner, these guys are probably about to hit the go button and go. Utah, all right, so mostly healthy team. What's your order of operations with Utah right now as we head into this trade deadline week?
I don't want Laurie Markin on my team. Walker Kessler terrifies me.
Mm.
In and out right now. John Collins terrifies me. He loses a ton of value if he goes to another team. Markkinen might as well. The guys I want Keontae and I want Isaiah Collier. I don't care about the order. I want them both. I'm not messing with Colin Sexton. I'm not messing with Jordan Clarkson. I don't know where those guys are going. And that's the thing about the trade deadline. It's impossible to know if a guy is going to be good on a new team until we know what team it is and what pieces have come and gone. So,
yeah, I used to try to predict that stuff, and I used to bother you with like 5 million columns the week of the trade deadline, like trying to game it all out, and then it maybe happened that way 10% of the time, 25% of the time. But it was fun, and it always kept us sharp. On the order of operations, I'm with you. I kind of don't care about the order of Keontae versus Collier. Sexton, I actually have ranked behind them just because of the concerns that he gets, elbowed out as the season goes on. But he's hung in there in the past. So maybe I'm doing this the wrong way. Maybe Sexton should be out in front of those two dudes because he's usually a top 75 guy when he's going. But Drew Eubanks, I've got after that, Sensabaugh, and then your guy, Micah Potter, is at least on my radar. He needs to do more with his minutes. He actually did more with his minutes in his last game, but generally speaking, he's got to do way more with his minutes. Let's get out of that mess. Let's get into Atlanta at Indy. As you guys all know, Jalen Johnson out for the season. Clint Capella and Bogdan Bogdanovic are out in advance of the trade deadline. That's the best way I can put that. What else we got? On the Indy side, Benedict Mathurin, questionable with an illness. Nemhard, questionable with thoracic spine sprain. That sounds like fun. What you got with this one?
Risa went nuts, 30 points last year. Rick says he's a run, don't walk pickup.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you got somebody you want to cut and Risa is sitting out there on waivers, go pick him up and see what happens. Because Jalen Johnson's gone, right? And that means more DeAndre Hunter. It means more Risa. And in theory, it should mean more Vic Krejci too, but Krejci's kind of fallen off a little bit. And in fact, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe Rick picked up Mo Gay in 30 deep, and he started. And I wonder
he started one game, right?
One game, yeah. I wonder if that was matchup driven in that game because it was Cleveland and they got two massive bigs. So, and then Krejci comes off the bench, and he's been like all over fantasy radar for a while. We've been talking about him for about a month here at Sports Ethos. He's been really, really good, mid-round guy, and then he gets 21 minutes last night, 6 points, and not much else after that. But the Risa stuff, it's interesting because on one hand, there's all the motivation in the world to play this guy. It really shouldn't matter whether they're going for the playoffs or not, but all their picks are owned by somebody else next year. So they're kind of just chilling. They don't need to do anything, but if they want to win, they can win. If they want to play, like we just don't want to get somebody hurt, we don't want to put somebody out there when we don't care. They could also do that, but more or less they want to win. Risa, I think he kind of checks a couple boxes for them. Like it's a developmental project and he can kind of help them win. But there's holes in his game. We know that. He looked pretty sharp in the last game. But, every time we say that, he falls back.
Speaking of falling back, and Larry Nance looked like he was walking on an aquatic treadmill during the game last night. 0 for 5, 0 points. He's the backup to Kongwu. Super annoying. If you picked up Larry Nance and he crushed your dreams, drop him and pick up somebody else. Musa
It
Diabate.
was that the aquatic treadmill reference that crushed my dreams and my hopes and dreams, and I'm gonna be hiding underneath the desk here for the rest of the show. Okongwu. How about Okongwu? He's been really, really good lately. Early round guy. Larry Dance is back and kicking a little bit. What do you think of Okongwu? Is this like hold territory?
Yeah, for sure. And we haven't even seen a Kongu pop, right? Like he has not had that big game that I think is coming. Like Kongu is gonna be just fine. Hold on to him. Same with DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter, arrow is pointing up. He's like 45% owned in ESPN leagues. He should be rostered everywhere. He's balling.
I hate you, Steve. I hate you. What do we got in Indiana? Okay, so all that bleeping and moaning, that's for you, Andre. Tyrese Halliburton, number 13 overall in 9 category leagues on a per game basis, 45 games played, second most on the team. Just hilarious how it all works out. Siakam peaking, just got the All-Star nod. I think it's a bit of a sell high for him. Hey, let's get to Sacramento, everybody. Yeehaw. Yeehaw. Sacramento, Oklahoma City. Basically, everybody's healthy in this game, except for Caruso, as normal, as per usual. I'll ask you, sir, what do you think of the Sacramento, Oklahoma City game?
Well, I'm going to keep this brief because I know you've got words. You've got words ready to go. I don't really have anything to say about the Thunder. Congrats to my guy, overrated, according to Rick Hamlin. He's overrated by me. Jalen Williams is an all-star. Let's go. I'm still waiting
I
for
need to
your
be tuning
Keon
into the
Ellis
show
to
more
come.
often.
Still waiting for your Keon Ellis to come on. Rick thinks if De'Aaron Fox goes, that Malik Monk is the new point guard of the Sacramento Kings.
I mean, yeah, he's probably right with the way that goes. And it's kind of hard to ask Monk to do more than he has. He's been an early round guy for quite a bit. And but there's the fallout from this. It's really I wouldn't even try to prognosticate from a fantasy perspective, because you're talking about Vivek, guys. Vivek makes the decisions there, and if he gets crazy, he might say, well, let's just keep Fox. And Fox is ready for that outcome. Like, so it's not smart for their organization, and it's not probable. And if Fox goes, it's all about what comes back. We just don't know about that. But what we do know is Keon Ellis, a top 125 guy in 9 category leagues over the or the entire season, pardon me. Basically just getting you a lot of threes, steals, and blocks. He's doing it in just 22 minutes a game. Top 65 over the last month. Top 100 over the last 25 games with 4 cash counting stats per game. That's steals, blocks, and threes. Just 21 minutes per game. So if he ever gets cut loose, obviously that's a big deal. Keegan, top 75 over the last 3 games. He's looked really good. The buy low there is actually so good because it's so hidden right now. And if they make a move that doesn't result in players coming back now, they are going to market the crap out of Keegan Murray, and they're going to try to because Keegan's everybody loves Keegan. Like, if they push Keegan onto the people, it will help, ease the pain of whatever is about to happen in Sacramento. And I would like to point out that over the last 25 games, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been the top fantasy play, period. He's a beast. All the talk about Wemby breaking fantasy leagues and Jokic being the clear number 2, and over the last 25 games, Shai's just running circles around those dudes. Congrats to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Washington at Minnesota. We got Alexander Sarsman missing some games, but otherwise they're actually healthy as far as the injury report goes. And then we got the big Julius Randle groin injury to talk about here. Mike Conley questionable with a right thumb sprain. Where do you go first with this? You want to talk Minnesota? How do you feel about what's going on there?
We can do that. Mike Conley, 37 years old, literally. Like, I usually want to say a guy's age and it's above 35. I'm kidding. And it's like 58. He's really 37 years old. He finally missed a game with a thumb injury. Well, they've got Rob Dillingham, right? let's start him. We're out of point guards. No, they start Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is hot. He's played well over his last 5 or 6 games. He's getting minutes. They don't trust Dillingham. Now, Dillingham came off the bench on Thursday and played very well. His best game of the year, probably. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a guy that you all want to keep an eye on, maybe go pick up, see how things shake out. And again, if they lose Dante DiVincenzo and they bench Mike Conley and then lose Mike Conley, and they still don't want to start Dillingham, and they start a shooting guard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker instead, what did Dillingham do to them that makes them so angry? And maybe it's just the coach's old school or whatever. I don't care. Julius Randle, groin injury, didn't look good to me. Groin injuries are bad in basketball. Naz Reid. I don't know that Naz Reid can be better than he was. He was already playing so well. But if he's still available in your league, just pick him up. Ask questions later.
I'm just curious if Minnesota could, like, maybe this flips a switch in their head and they go, okay, we're going to trade Julius Randle. And I don't know if it's possible. The funny thing is Julius Randle might get thrown in a 10-team trade and land on like the Kings or something. I keep thinking of that one, and that one.
Well, now they're trading a BMW that only has three tires on it.
Yeah.
Actually, they're trading a Volkswagen Passat that only has 3 tires on it. And I don't know what you're going to get back for that.
Yeah, like a Volkswagen
he's
van.
A throw-in.
Well, that's the thing, and like maybe somebody's crazy enough to think that he's better than he is, but it's too bad that Dante DiVincenzo's injury is also kind of lining up with what Randall's theoretic timeline is, because this could unlock everything in Minnesota, like all the rising tide to lift all ships. Anthony Edwards has been the number 1 play in fantasy over the last 2 games. You know, you get rid of Julius Randle and Minnesota goes through the roof, in my opinion. But it's a little too early to call it like that, and to call Randle a trade guy is even a stretch. On the Washington side, speaking of trades and all of that and hilarity in Sacramento, if this actually ends up happening, Kyle Kuzma is doing whatever you would call Kyle Kuzma doing out there. He's ruining the Washington Wizards. That's really hard to do. I mean, the Washington Wizards are like the plot from The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Like, you just don't know what the movie's about. You don't know what they're doing there. Thank you, Doc, for that courtesy laugh over there.
Oh, I liked it.
But Kuzma is ruining this team. He's ruining all the stash guys. He's ruining Bilal Coulibaly. He ruined Justin Champagnie. He's ruined Bub Carrington. But there is a future in Washington without Kyle Kuzma. And who knows? Maybe it's in Sacramento. That's the most hilarious possible outcome. Yeah, I thought so. What's your stash order in Washington?
Corey Kispert.
You were going to say that.
That's it. Bub Carrington.
Where's Bilal in that mix? Is he ahead
Bilal's
of all these guys?
there. I mean, I assume Bilal's already rostered, but if he's not, I mean, he's probably number 1. Probably go Bilal, Bub, Kispert, and Justin Champagnie's in there too. All 4 of those guys.
I got Champagnie second in my list, and I got Tristan Vukcevic 4th, and Keyshawn George 5th.
Where do you have Bub?
Yeah. 3rd. I got Bub 3rd, and I think
Bub's really been a buzzkill this year, man.
It's everything is Kyle Kuzma's fault. The whole damn thing.
Just whole like thing. He ruined Jalen Johnson last year, and now he's ruining the entire Wizards. The Wizards have 6 wins, bro.
And there are people in Sacramento who think it's a good idea to bring him into their organization. It's, how bad can you possibly be? Brooklyn at Houston, everybody. Brooklyn at Houston. Cam Johnson, very real ankle injury. This is actually a thing. It's not trade deadline related, but it's bad timing for his trade value. Cam Thomas, I feel like they're just kind of like, Cam, stay out of this thing, at least until the trade deadline's over. Day'Ron Sharp, hamstring, out for a bit. Clowney, doubtful. That ankle injury did not look good. Houston, Şengün, questionable left calf. What do you got with this game?
Dude, I don't even know where to start with Brooklyn. Like Rick and I talk about, you just look at this and it's just a disaster. Like Nick Claxton trending down, Keon Johnson hanging in there. He's the number one guy, right? The number one
Yeah.
stash.
Yep.
Um, and then I think it's Zaire Williams next, and then flip a coin between Jalen Wilson and Tyrese Martin.
It bad. It bad. What about Houston? Anything cooking there? I mean, Amin Thompson, top 15 over the last 12
Oh, he's
games.
so good. They're
Obviously,
so
he's so
good.
good. Shingun
They're
gets the
so
All
good,
Star
man.
nod. I'm sure that's going to cause some conversation at some point.
That game against Memphis last night, awesome. They lost, but man, they fought hard. Ime Udoka has these guys running through brick walls
That was the
for
best
him.
signing. That's their best move for a guy
And
that was
I
making no good moves at the time. Owner, what's his? I forget Tillman's first name, but he couldn't do anything right, and then he gets Udoka off the scrap heap because he's
and
canceled.
they look like they might win it. Look like they might win a. I mean, they're championship contenders at this point. Eason double last night. I mean, all these guys should be rostered. Dylan Brooks has been really good, and he hit his over in points last night playing against his former team. So if Dylan Brooks is sitting out there looking at him, Eason should not be available. Cam Whitmore, to me, is the only guy that might be sitting out there that you can get, unless you're in a super deep league and you need a center. And Steven Adams had a double last night when Alpi Shengun was out, but really hasn't done anything this season when Shengun's healthy. So I'm not like running out and picking up Steven Adams.
Yeah, that's Tillman Fertitta and Alperen Şengün stole Domantas Sabonis's All-Star slot. I'll just put it that way. Lakers at Knicks, two teams we know quite a bit about. No big surprises. AD's though out with an abdominal strain. It feels like it's maybe about just under a week. If I had to project there, Dorian Finney-Smith questionable, Gabe Vincent questionable, Dalton Connect probable. Anything of note
I'm
with
going
these two
through
teams?
the All Star break for Anthony Davis.
Oh,
That is my prediction.
it's going to be interesting if things go sour in Lakerland. That's why I was so big on Austin Reeves, both pre-draft and trying to beg you guys to buy low when things were bad for him. He's got 2 months of top 45 basketball under his belt. And if anything happens with Anthony Davis or LeBron, or they get pissed off about things, they don't want to play hard, they don't want to play through stuff, then Austin Reeves is going to get all the value. Cat, a little bit of a slide for New York, just top 30 over the last 8 games due to 0.5 blocks. You wonder if those little knee and thumb injuries are starting to add up for him. But other than that, I mean, this team's cruising, and I don't really think you should worry about Cat at this point because it's not about this season you worry. Maybe next season or the season down the road with whatever he's going to play through. But these guys are going to run
This is a
through
big
brick walls.
game. Lakers Knicks.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a big game. And
Yes, sir.
back to the Lakers. Rui Hachimura was very good in a start on Thursday night. I think he hit 9 and 12 shots, scored like 22, some goodies. Dalton Connect kind of went away. I think he had 10 points. He did okay. But I'm not giving up on Dalton Connect because they need scoring. They need offense. And on nights when Rui's not hitting 9 out of 12, they're going to need Connect to hit 3. So those two guys should be rostered in most leagues, I think.
We got about 4 more teams to go through here. We got Miami. We mentioned Terry Rozier at the top, and that note that Ira Winderman reported that more or less it feels like the Heat are just going to throw Terry Rozier out there for 20 minutes per game. They're just continuing as normal. Was the vibe I got from that report. So that's interesting. I kind of thought maybe they would say, "Hey, come on, with this going on in the press," and if you didn't hear, basically the FBI opened up a report or probably an investigation on Terry Rozier to see what's up with alleged gambling, tanking games or whatever. So a lot of interesting stuff with that, but not enough time to get into that. But I gotta think this is good news for guys like Jaime Jaquez, Haywood Highsmith, and Duncan Robinson. Like their jobs just got a little bit safer with this. I can't imagine that Terry Rozier gets out of this looking better than he was heading into it. And we were wondering, or at least I was, like, why did he suck so bad the last year? Well, maybe he knew that this was going on and that he was going to be facing some serious, mess. That's all I got
Well,
there.
why did Jaime Jaquez only play 7 minutes in his last game? Like, I don't like that. It's all
Illness,
Nikola
maybe.
Jovic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 The
Make
guys
sure
there,
Jovic
Khalil
is not
Ware.
on your waiver wire.
Yes, I think that's actually the cool part of this is that Khalil Ware, and if somebody's freaked out about his line because he had his first bad line last game, it was a blowout loss to the Cavs guys. They're good, and that's what good teams do to bad teams, is they take their box score and rip it up. Where Jovic, I feel like they got good balance on the squad. I'm really interested to see what they may or may not take back in a Jimmy Butler deal, and you might have Jimmy with them at the end of the day. Who knows? But
Duncan Robinson is also playing well, and a guy that with this Rozier news, I think he's the biggest winner if Rozier's gone.
he's been the most consistent, and he's actually got pop to his fantasy game when he's on. And yeah, I like him the most between he, Jaquez, and Highsmith. And Highsmith just disappears a little bit too much for my liking, but I do like him as a player. Let's get to the Phoenix Portland game on Saturday. We've already talked about Phoenix, but for Portland, we'll just talk about Scoot here. Jeremy Grant's questionable, and everybody's more or less healthy. That's weird, but they're trying to win games. It feels like they can't really tank that much now because of the number of games they've won. Scoot Henderson, your guy, Scoot Alute, over the last month, 16 games, 28 minutes per game, just under 15 points, 2 threes, 3.5 boards, 5 plus assists, 1 plus steal, 0.4 blocks, 48.4% from the field, and 80% from the foul line. Now, it's 2.9 turnovers per game. So in a 9-cat league, that's just top 120 value. But in an 8-cat league, that's top 90 value, and the minutes are down, and you got all sorts of stuff going on. You've been on it all season, dude. Is Scoot going to be something of a silly season hero?
Are the Blazers going to have a silly season? Are they going to make a trade? I mean, Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, right? And they've got to go. Scoot was back in the starting lineup on Thursday because Jeremy Grant was out, so that helped. And Scoot had a little 2-point and 4-point blip on the radar like 10 days ago, but he's been pretty good. And if Anthony Simons gets out of the way, Scoot's going to blow up. So I'm all for it. I'm here for it. Tumani Kamara has been very good. Denny Avdia has been very good. I'm waiting for Delano Banton season to get here.
Well, if they want to keep winning, I don't know. Who knows? At some point, they might not want to keep winning. It might make sense. I don't know. Good for you, Portland, for winning games.
Portland should fire Chauncey just for how bad he sucks at tanking.
That sucks. Cleveland plays on Sunday. We haven't talked about them yet. They're playing Dallas. So what's interesting is the Ty Jerome show is back. It's because you got like a convergence of Dean Wade's been out for a bit. Karis LeVert's been out. He's questionable for that game. Right wrist. Isaac Okoro, questionable right shoulder. Been questionable for a bit. So who knows what's going on there. But Ty Jerome's been going off. And I'm kind of curious if these guys just cruise record-wise, if it doesn't become the Ty Jerome show all the way down the stretch. And he's been a mid-round guy over the last week or two. We've seen these stretches in the past already. He seems to have the skill to be good. That's just something I'm keeping an eye on. Evan Mobley is coming off of a really slow 4-game stretch. This would probably be the time to buy low if you're going to have a chance to buy low on an Evan Mobley. And I don't think you really will, but I figured I would mention it. If you have a Cleveland thought, just interrupt me. Memphis is our last team that we haven't talked about. They're playing in Milwaukee on Sunday. As of right now, John Morant, questionable right shoulder. Luke Kennard has been the beneficiary there. Any Memphis thoughts before we get out of here?
I was just going to say Ty Jerome is 11% rostered in ESPN leagues. Go get him. I don't care. He's played well enough that when Karis LeVert comes back, it's not going to matter. Go get Ty Jerome. Stop what you're doing and go pick him up. He's in my risers column on ESPN today. Remember when John Morant was out, you automatically just went out and played Scottie Pippen?
Not anymore.
Luke Kennard is the guy. I was kind of on him a few weeks ago, and I think I got laughed at. But Luke Kennard is balling. You want to pick him up too. That's all I got.
I was not laughing at you, sir. But I did advise against that it would keep going, but it has kept going. 3 weeks of solid mid-round value, still hitting 55% of his shots for 13 points, 3 triples, 4 boards, 4 assists over 13 games. And if anybody's going to hit that high number of shots and sort of keep it going. It's these great shooters. It's the Ty Jeromes, it's the Luke Kennards that are going to keep it going. So you get shooting guards that actually have kind of third of season, and some have even had. I remember Kyle Korver had like an entire half season once of hot stretch, and then followed by the subsequent cold stretch. So shooting guards, they have these longer periods of hot and cold stretches, and I'm kind of curious if Memphis is the wild card for Jimmy Butler, and I really actually do want to see him land at a place like that. That would be fun to see Memphis in the playoffs with the Jimmy Butler, adding to the quote grit and grind. And that's gonna do it here for us today. We're gonna get out of here. A lot to cover, and we're gonna have a lot to cover in the coming days. So please stay tuned. Thank you, Andre, for keeping the trains on time.
I
Shoot.
totally disagree. I do not want to see Jimmy Butler land in Memphis and it's like dropping a bomb in the middle of that team. That you mentioned grit and grind, and then you're talking about Jimmy Butler. No, I do not want him. I want him to go somewhere.
Mr. Grit and Grind.
I want him to go somewhere where nobody cares about. I don't want him to ruin what Memphis has.
Banish him to the Wayne, the main Red Claws, or what are they?
Send him to the friggin' Wizards.
That's mean, dude. That's mean.
It's so mean.
Thank you guys for putting up with all of that and us and this and listening and participating and sending your questions and your feedback. Honestly, so we're making a ton of investments right now. We want to hear what you guys have to say about how we can make the platform better, how we can make the tools better, the memberships better, all this free stuff we're putting out. And just let us know. Shoot us an email, shoot us a tweet. You follow us on all social media platforms at Sports Ethos, at Ethos Fantasy NBA, at Dr. A, DOCKTORA, at Aaron Bruski. Just send us what you think, what you want. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button and the thumbs up button. All that stuff. It helps us. It helps you guys stay connected. Go download the Sports Ethos app. It's free. It's awesome. It's been great for me all season long. And again, thank you guys for all the support. Let's build this out the right way together. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.